In the last class, we have discussed about linear dependence and linear independence. So, if we take total n vectors alpha 1 alpha 2 alpha n and consider the relation c1 alpha 1 plus c2 alpha 2 plus dot dot cn alpha n equals theta. Theta is the identity element or the zero element. If we consider this equation, then if the constant c1 c2 dot dot cn takes only the value 0, then we will say these vectors, this set of vectors are linearly independent. And if there exists some non-zero solution for the constant, that is at least one of them becomes non-zero, then it will become a non-zero solution. If this happens, then we will say this set of vectors alpha 1 alpha 2 alpha n is linearly dependent. Now moving to a theorem. The theorem states that let alpha 1 alpha 2 alpha n, we have given a set of n vectors, then this will be linearly dependent if and only if at least any one of these vectors can be expressed as a linear combination of the others and vice versa. That means if any one of the vectors, suppose we are taking alpha j, any one of alpha 1 alpha 2 alpha n, alpha j, if it can be expressed as the linear combination of the others, that means we are writing c1 alpha 1 plus c2 alpha 2 plus dot dot cj minus 1 alpha j minus 1, cj alpha j won't be there because it is here already, so cj plus 1 alpha j plus 1 plus dot dot cn alpha n. If we can express any one of the vector alpha j like this, then we will say that this set of vectors alpha 1 alpha 2 alpha n is linearly dependent. Okay, so this is the easy trick or easy application to find that a set of vectors is linearly dependent or independent. As it is an if and only if condition, then if we cannot express any vector by the linear combination of the others, then we can say this is linearly independent, and if we can express, then we can say that this is linearly dependent. So let's take an example, alpha, beta, gamma, comma, beta plus gamma. Now we want to apply this theorem here. That is, by applying, we want to check that this becomes linearly dependent or not. That is, we are trying to express any one of the vector among these four vectors, alpha, beta, gamma and beta plus gamma. Any one of these four vectors can be expressed as the linear combination of the others or not. That is, we have to find one vector which can be expressed as the linear combination of the other three vectors. So from here we can easily check beta plus gamma, this quantity can be expressed. So beta plus gamma equals, we can write it as 0 into alpha plus 1 into beta plus 1 into gamma, right? This becomes beta plus gamma. And check, these are the other three vectors alpha, beta, gamma. So beta plus gamma can be expressed as the linear combination of other three vectors of this set. So by applying previous theorem, we can say this set is linearly dependent. Okay. Similarly, we can take next example as, I'm considering the next example number 2 as alpha, comma beta, comma gamma, comma theta. Now can we express any one of the vector as the linear combination of the others, of the remaining others? If we take theta, theta can be written as, theta means the zero element, so you can written as 0 into alpha plus 0 into beta plus 0 into gamma, right? These are three remaining element alpha, beta and gamma. So we can express theta as the linear combination of the other three vectors which are alpha, comma beta, comma gamma. So by the previous theorem we can say that this set of vectors are linearly dependent. Now check, whenever there is theta in any set, then theta can obviously be represented as the linear combination of others. The constant part c1, c2 dot dot cn will be only 0. So from here we can deduce a corollary from this theorem, that is, whenever a set of vectors, whenever a set of vectors contains theta, it is always linearly dependent. This is the corollary of the previous theorem, because we can check that whenever it contains theta, theta can be written as 0 into the all the remaining elements. So theta is always can be expressed as the linear combination of the others vectors. So whenever a set of vectors contains theta, it should be always linearly dependent. Okay, no need to check it. We can claim it by this corollary. Now moving to the next theorem, which is called deletion theorem. Deletion theorem, it states that suppose we have a vector space V over a field F, and F is spanned by a linearly dependent set of vectors S equals alpha 1, alpha 2 dot dot alpha n. Then V can also be spanned by a proper suitable subset of S. So the theorem, deletion theorem, it states that suppose we have a vector space V over a field F, and V is spanned by, V is spanned, not F. V is spanned by a linearly dependent set S equals alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha n. That means from here we can write V equals LS, the notation for spanning set, and here S is given linearly dependent. Okay, then it is saying that V can also be spanned by a proper suitable subset of S. Suppose we got a suitable subspace T of S, and how to find that T, I am discussing it later. Suppose we get suppose suitable subset of S as T, then V can also be written as L of T. L of T means linear span of T. So this is basically the deletion theorem states. Now how to find, the question is how to find that T. The proof of deletion theorem is very easy. To find that T, that means we have to omit some vectors from S. So which vector can we omit from S such that the remaining subset also spans V? We need to find out this. So for the procedure is, suppose we get this one, this set S alpha 1, alpha 2 dot dot alpha n, and in the question it is given that this is linearly dependent. So by the previous theorem, what we can write? We can write at least any one of these can be expressed as the linear combination of others. So let's say alpha j can be expressed as the linear combination of others. Then it is can be written as C1 alpha 1 plus C2 alpha 2 plus dot dot Cj minus 1 alpha j minus 1 plus Cj plus 1 alpha j plus 1 plus dot dot Cn alpha n. Right? Now we can replace, we can omit this alpha j from this set. Then the remaining set will be alpha 1, alpha 2 dot dot alpha j minus 1 comma alpha j plus 1 dot dot alpha n. This set will be our required capital T, and this will also spans V. Okay. So how to omit, for applying deletion theorem, we just need to know how to omit one or more than one vector from the given spanning set S and obtain another subset T. So the procedure of deleting is, we just have to find which vector can be expressed as the linear combination of the others. Then we can omit this vector. Okay. So I will give the details proof in another video. In this class or in this lecture, we only focus on the problem solving part. Okay. So I am only discussing the theorems and then their applications. The proof of the theorem will be on the next lecture. So next, moving to some application of deletion theorem. So write down an example. let alpha 1 equals 1 comma 2 comma 0, alpha 2 equals 3 comma minus 1 comma 1, and alpha 3 equals 4 comma 1 comma 1. Show that the set S is linearly dependent. Show that the set S is linearly dependent. And the next part is apply deletion theorem. Apply deletion theorem to find a proper subset of S. To find a proper subset of S that can generate LS. That can generate LS. So check the first part of the example. Show that this set S is linearly dependent. You know how to show that? Just take C1 alpha 1 plus C2 alpha 2 plus C3 alpha 3 equals theta. So moving to the first part. Let the condition, considering the condition C1 alpha 1 plus C2 alpha 2 plus C3 alpha 3 equals theta. So putting the value of alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, what will we get? 1, 2, 0 plus C2 into 3 minus 1, 1 plus C3 into 4, 1, 1 equals theta means 0, 0, 0. So it will become C1 plus 3C2 plus 4C3 equals 0. 2C1 minus C2 plus C3 equals 0. Then C1 0, then C2 plus C3 equals 0. These three conditions we get from this one. You know how to solve this equation. Just take any value from C2. From this equation we can say C2 equals minus C3. Then putting this value of C2 in 1 and 2. What will we get? We will get C1 minus 3C3 plus 4C3 equals 0 from 1. So it will become C1 plus C3 equals 0. Right? And then from 2 what will we get? 2C1 plus C3 plus C3 equals 0. So from there we get C2 plus C3 equals 0. Now from these two and using this one we can easily get the result. Result will be C1 equals C2 equals minus C3. As from there we will get C2 equals minus C3, which is already here, and from here we will get C1 equals minus C3. So from there we can conclude C1 equals C2 equals minus C3. That means if we take, suppose if we take any value C1 equal putting 1, then C2 will be 1 and C3 will be minus 1. That is, we get a set of non-zero value, that is non-zero solution for the constants 1, 1 comma minus 1. Similarly, you can take many others value as 2, 2 minus 2, 3, 3 minus 3 and so on. There are infinitely many non-zero solutions for this constant C1, C2, C3. That means the vectors alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, these are linearly dependent. Right? Now we need to apply deletion theorem. What does it state? It states that a proper suitable subset of S can also generate the vector space. Here S is alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3. This is our S. That means we need to find a subset of it. Subset means we need to omit some element from S. Now what element should be omitted from there? The rule is that this element should be omitted which can be expressed as the linear combination of the others. This is always possible because the set is linearly dependent. So we need to find that which element can be written as the linear combination of the others. Now check, as the constant parts are alpha 1, constant terms are 1, 1 minus 1, if we take this, then what will be the relation? This C1 alpha 1 plus C2 alpha 2 plus C3 alpha 3 equals theta. If we put the values of C1, C2, C3, what value will it take? It will become alpha 1 plus alpha 2 minus alpha 3 equals theta. Right? Now check, if we take any vector, either alpha 1 or alpha 2 or alpha 3, it can be expressed by the linear combination of others. If we take alpha 1, then it will become minus alpha 2 plus alpha 3. That is minus 1 into alpha 2 plus 1 into alpha 3. Right? That is alpha 1 can be expressed as the linear combination of the other two vectors. So from the set capital S, we can omit alpha 1 by applying deletion theorem. So in the next line, we are writing by applying deletion theorem, T equals, we are omitting alpha from it. So it will become alpha 2 comma alpha 3 will also generate LS. Okay, so this is the required proper suitable subset of T, of S. Now check, for this relation alpha 1 plus alpha 2 minus alpha 3, alpha 1 minus alpha 2, plus alpha 2 minus alpha 3 equal theta, we get that alpha 1 can be expressed as the linear combination of the remaining two. Similarly, alpha 2 also can be expressed as the linear combination of the other two. If we write alpha 2 equals minus alpha 1 plus alpha 3, then this becomes minus 1 into alpha 1 plus 1 into alpha 3. Right? Then from the set S, alpha 2 can also be omitted by applying deletion theorem. Similarly, alpha 3 from this relation, alpha 3 can also written as alpha 1 plus alpha 2. That is 1 into alpha 1, 1 into alpha 2. That is alpha 3 can also be expressed as the linear combination of the remaining vectors. So by applying deletion theorem, alpha 3 can also be omitted from the given set capital S. So we can apply in more than one ways. Deletion theorem can be applied by more than one ways. Okay, so the set T can also be alpha 1 alpha 2, and it can also be alpha 1 alpha 3. There are total 3 possibilities for T. Okay. Next topic is basis and dimension. This is one of the most important topic in the chapter vector space, and you need to make your concept clear about this basis and dimension. This is very important topic. So what is basis and what is dimension? Suppose we have a vector space V. We have a vector space V over a field capital F. Now a set, suppose capital S, it is said to be a basis. S is said to be a basis of V, if it satisfies two conditions. Number 1, it is linearly independent, and number 2, it generates V. That means V equals LS. If these two conditions satisfied by a set of vectors capital S of V, then we will say that S is a basis of V. The conditions are, first of all, it should be linearly independent, and the second is it should generate V, that is V equals the linear span of S. If these two conditions satisfied, then S is said to be a basis of V. And if it is a finite dimensional basis vector space, if it is finite dimensional vector space, then the number of elements in V, the number of elements in V equal to the the number of elements in S is said to be the dimension of V. That is, dimension means basically the number of elements in the basis. Okay, dimension equal to the number of elements in basis. And if we find an infinite vector space, then the dimension will be infinite. That is, we cannot find a finite basis for this type of vector space. Basically, we will discuss in this chapter about finite dimensional vector space. So there we can find a finite basis for the vector space. So I am repeating again the definitions. Suppose we have a vector space V over a field F, then capital S is a set of vectors. It is said to be a basis of V if it satisfies two conditions. Number one, it should be linearly independent, and number two, it should span the set S. Number two, it should span the vector space V. That is, L of S or the linear span of S should be equal to the vector space. If these two conditions satisfied, then the set of vectors S is said to be a basis. And the number of elements in the basis is said to be the dimension of the vector space. Okay. Now I will give you some examples. That is, some example of a set capital S. You have to check that it becomes a basis for a particular vector space or not. That means you have to check if the set of vectors satisfies these two conditions or not. It becomes linearly independent and it is generating the vector space. That's it. Okay. So starting with the first example. Consider the vector space R square. Consider the vector space R square over R, obviously, the real number field over R. And consider the set S equals 1 0, 0 1. This you need to check this becomes a vector. This becomes a basis of R square or not. You have to check it. That is, at first we need to check this becomes linearly independent or not. So for that reason, let C1 into the first vector plus C2 into the second vector equals theta. That is, from here we can write C1, 0 plus 0, C2 equals 0, 0. So from there we can write C1 plus 0 equals 0 and 0 plus C2 equals 0. So the result comes C1 equals 0, C2 equals 0. Nothing to solve here. So C1 0, C2 0. That means the set is linearly independent, right? So the first part for being a basis is complete. First condition for being a basis is complete. Now the second condition, that means the set generates R square or generates the given vector space capital V. Here V is R square. So we need to prove this L of S equals to R square. That means we will take any element from R square. It can be expressed as the linear combination of the set of the elements of the set S. So let's take one element from R square. The R square means R cross R. That means the elements will look like A comma B, this pair. So let A comma B belongs to R square. Now if we can prove that A comma B can be expressed in as some C1 into 1 0 plus some C2 into 0 1, then our work will be done. We need to find the value of C1 and C2. So let's try to find the value of C1, C2. So from the right hand side, from the left hand side we can write A comma B, and from the right hand side we can write C1 comma 0 plus 0 comma C2. That is C1 plus 0 comma 0 plus C2. So from there, by equating, we can write C1 equals A and C2 equals B. That means we get two constants C1, C2 such that A comma B can be expressed as the linear combination of the vectors 1 0 and 0 1. So from this line, putting the value of C1, C2, we get that a comma b equals a into 1 0 plus b into 0 1, where a and b are obviously constant, they belongs to capital R, our required field. So any element of R square can be expressed as a linear combination of 1 0 comma 0 1, right? So the second condition for being a basis is also satisfied, that is the set 1 0 comma 0 1, the set 1 0 comma 0 1 is a basis of R square. Okay, and obviously the number of element is 2, so the dimension of R square will be equals to 2. Okay, this is how we check any basis and its dimension. Similarly, we can take the next example as R cube, the vector space R cube, and we are considering the set 1 0 0 comma 0 1 0 comma 0 0 1. Okay, if you check for the two conditions for being a basis, first one is linearly independent. Just exactly by applying the previous procedure you can find it. This is linearly independent. Next one is for spanning set. So if you take any vector belongs to ABC, suppose ABC belongs to R cube, then we can easily express ABC as equals A into 1 0 0 plus B into 0 1 0 plus C into 0 0 1. Just by applying previous procedure, taking C1, C2, C3, then equating both sides, you will get the value of C1, C2, C3, and this comes as ABC. So any element of R cube can be expressed as the linear combination of these three vectors. So these three vectors is satisfying all the conditions for being a basis. So this is also a basis of R cube, and the number of element is 3 here. So dimension of R cube will be equal to 3. Now this type of basis, that is the first coordinate is 1 here, all the remaining are 0. For the second element, second coordinate is 1, all the remaining are 0. For the third coordinate, third element, the third coordinate is 0, on the remaining elements are 0. This type of basis for R cube, R square, R to the power 4 and dot dot so on, for this type of sets R to the power n is said to be the standard basis. It has a particular name, it is called standard basis. So whenever in question gives comes like standard basis of R cube, then we need to understand the basis is 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. Okay. Similarly, standard basis of R square, we need to understand the basis is 1 0 comma 0 1. So the standard basis of R square is this 1 0 0 1. Standard basis of R cube is 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. Similarly, standard basis of R to the power 4 will be the same thing, 1 0 0 0, then 0 1 0 0, 0 0 1 0 and 0 0 0 1. This. So similarly for R to the power n, it will be 1, then the remaining n minus 1 element will be 0, next 0 1, all the remaining n minus 2 element will be 0 and so on, last element will be 0 0 n minus 1 times, then 1. This is called standard basis of R to the power n. Okay, so whenever anything given like standard basis, we need to understand this one. Okay, this is a standard notation, we need to memorize it. Standard basis equals this. Now check, the dimension for R square is 2, the dimension for R cube was 3, Similarly, dimension of r to the power 4 is 4 and so on. That is dimension of r to the power n equals n. Okay. Dimension of r to the power n is equals to n. And there is another result, standard result is that any two bases contains the same element, same number of element, not same element, contains the same number of elements. That means what is the number of elements denotes in the basis? It denotes the dimension of the space. That means the dimension of the space is always fixed. Not like that from one basis we get the dimension is 2, from another basis we get the dimension is 3. No, this is not possible. That means dimension of a space, dimension of a vector space is always fixed. Okay, so this is how we find basis and dimension for a vector space. Now we will give you some examples of set of vectors. You have to find this becomes a basis or not. But before that we have a theorem. We need to know the statement of the theorem. Then we will move to the next example. Yes, the theorem states that this is a very useful theorem to find basis for a vector space. The theorem states that let V be a vector space of dimension n over a field F. Let V be a vector space of over a field F and dimension of V equals small n. Then any linearly independent set of n vectors, then any linearly independent set of n vectors of V is a basis of V, is a basis of V. Okay, so what is it saying? That suppose we have a vector space over a field F and its dimension is small n. So then any linearly independent set of n vectors will form a basis. Now check, there were two conditions for being a basis. Number one was linearly independent and number two was it should be a spanning set of the vector space. That is, it should generate the vector space V equals Ls. Now by applying this theorem, we just only need to check that the set is linearly independent or not. No need to check the second condition, that is